for that sweet sound.
It's the Monday Night Lights podcast. We are back live in the well. Brian Piercy here with Andrew Hedis and Troy Otto. How you boys doing today?
Right off the ice, ready to go.
Legs are warmed up, voice is warmed up. I've been told I need to be a little more spicy, so we'll get some hot takes from Spicy Lettuce today.
Perfect. Just a few reminders as always. Give us a call, 714-75-WHOOP. Email the show at podcast@mnlhl.com. Follow us on Twitch, and we are now affiliated, so subscribe to us on Twitch. Help us get that money. Help us reduce those costs for you. Also, as always, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. Leave us a rating and a review. Quick thing, we did get a couple voicemails from the one and only Sam Mackey. Just to let you know, they did not make the cut. They will not be played today. But don't be surprised, YouTube exclusive. We've been growing our content there. We've been growing our views. Later this week, probably Friday, Saturday, we'll have a YouTube exclusive with the voicemails Sam Mackey left us.
Wow.
So,
breaking news before we get too far. Still waiting on that Dave P. how-to Amazon Prime video. He told me that he would do it for us old guys. I attempted to donate my $5 via Amazon Prime. I couldn't figure it out. So still waiting on Dave P. I was shocked that he didn't get right on it.
Well, Dave's a busy guy. He's always streaming Fortnite for those youngins out there in the world. So when he takes a break from Fortnite, I'm sure he'll get that video up for us, and we'll look stellar.
Whoa. He's too sophisticated for something like Fortnite. He's a PUBG guy. I mean, so much difference, so much quality. I mean, let's get it right. We don't want to,
The metagame in PUBG, that's where it's at. Fortnite's for a bunch of scrubs. You hear that? If you like playing Fortnite and you're following Monday Night Light, you're a scrub. Accept it.
So, July 15th, the draft. Realistically, 2 weeks to go. Sounds like we have a little bit of breaking news. I'll let the co-commissioner, kind of talk about some of these players and what's going on with this.
Yeah, a little disappointing for me personally. I had one of my friends, Mitch Rivet, signed up in the league. Was really looking forward to adding him. He really wanted in. I was like, before you commit, make sure you can do it. It's on Mondays. I know our kids have practice on that same night, so figure it out. He's like, yep, I'm in. And then when push came to shove, I think he realized that he couldn't do it. So Mitch Rivet's out of the league. I think we had already had this based on the Rubel mistake, this Mark Pilot. If you remember, we talked about him last week with the Sweet Capitals pants. So I think he's automatically in for Rivet. Then we have Cherry Pecora, who's probably 95% out, broke his finger.
Have we actually talked to him about this?
I've talked to Michael Pecora as recently as 30 minutes before he came on the air. I'm like, are you out? And he's like, well, I don't want to, but I can't bend my finger. He's being really he's just annoying. So anyways, so I think he's going to be out. And then sounds like Captain Tom Phillips, never heard of him. That's Panty's buddy. He has gone AWOL, not responding to emails, hasn't paid his money. So it's looking like might be 2 additional openings for MNL, and we had some guys out tonight that might fill those 2 spots. If you had someone that was interested in the league, we are short notice, so this would be someone who would have to come out next week to be evaluated, and we willing to fully commit and pay his money. But if you think you have someone that fits that criteria, reach out to myself or Jeremy Drager ASAP, because we're going to be making decisions, because we don't want to postpone the draft. I will say that if push comes to shove, I know nobody wants to do this, but I would entertain postponing the draft a week to make sure that we get it right rather than...
Whoa. I don't know. No.
Breaking news. Where's the drop?
Consider.
Drake horn.
I use the word consider. We don't want... That would be... We don't want that to happen.
We're laced up, ready to rock. The bowling alley's ready to accept us. We can't postpone this.
Yeah. Well, Panties is like... Turnbull had this guy. He came out tonight. We're going to talk about him. And Penny's like, well, he didn't go through the process and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, it's
you know what? I don't know
we
what
got
this.
two guys
This
ready to
first of
go.
all, this process was not an open process. I mean, the GMs, it's kind of one of your guys' jobs to go through this process, but. I think we've had plenty of time. We've known for a while about this 7 team. GM should have done their due diligence on bringing in these guys. I did play with Tom Phillips. He always seemed like a pretty good guy. He reminded me of a Joey Brennan, possibly a little bit better then, but this was also like the beginnings of the K-Falcons. So
Sure.
I feel like a lot of us progressed a lot more. But he, so he's probably not as good as Joey, but he would have been a good fit for the league. But he would have known about this for a while. He should have been able to get out to a skate, especially, if there would have been some communication to Drager, which it sounds like it's been little to none, to let us know, hey, here's what's going on. It might be a little bit different. I'm coming out for the last skate, but, I mean, this draft has been planned for a while. People are trying to, set their plans aside, be ready for this stuff. They're putting efforts into this, so I don't think it should be moved. We've had a couple of guys come out today. If someone like a Tom Phillips can't make it out for a skate, to me, he's out. To me, we're bringing in some other guys. Let's bring these guys in that are going to commit.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, you put the money in and you throw that money down in Panty's lap. Just make it rain. You know what? You got to be in.
All I was saying is that if there's I'm ready to pull the trigger on. There's 2 guys tonight. They're both acceptable to me, and boom, I'd want them in. But if someone's sitting out there like, oh, I want my guy in, blah blah blah, I'm saying like now's the time, and we have limited time to make it happen. But the time, I don't think it's Panty's fault. I mean, by all accounts, this Phillips said that he was in, and then Panty's done. I know you haven't seen all the emails, but Panty has sent these guys numerous emails, and then he's just gone completely radio silent. So that's on Phillips and nobody else.
Oh, for the record, I'm not blaming Drager at all on this. I'm just saying, this is kind of how things go. This is actually one of the things that could be bad about coming up about this sub rule for the next season, where the bye team, they get first dibs on this on filling in for subs, because we're going to have a hard time bringing in guys for subbing that could eventually want to get into the league. I think it's the most fair way to do it, but I think it's also a potential consequence as well.
Sure. Well, but that's the breaking news. So, and for anyone else, if you haven't paid your money, you got to get your money paid. I know, again, Jeremy's sent out some emails on that, but we're not messing around this year. We had a couple situations last year and the year before. It's like there's usually some person that slips through the cracks and doesn't pay, and then it creates a nightmare. So get your money in, and or your spot is up for grabs.
The last thing on Tom Phillips, to have he ruled out that he's out at sea right now with no communication, because there's a whole movie about that where he's just stuck out at sea, and it's the worst.
Yeah,
Captain Phillips.
Yeah.
But speaking of fill-ins, what's going on with the goalie situation as of right now?
So we have officially committed to goalie Dylan. He played again tonight. We have different, Hedis might. Before the show, Hedis was giving his comments on the goalies tonight, and he was actually being slightly critical. And I was like, yeah, and then we're going to get on the air, and you're going to say, oh, both the goalies were great, blah, blah, blah.
So everyone wants me to be spicy now, so I'll
So I'm hoping. But Dylan has committed to the league. We've committed to Dylan. I think it's great. I think the skill is there. I think he'll only get better. Is he great right now? No. Is he bad right now? No. But most importantly, he seems like a really fun guy. He's into the league. He was smiling the whole time through. I know he stacked the pads with like a minute left after an 80-minute skate. And I'm like, are you dying yet, buddy? Because I've been there. I know like the 80-minute drop in, I'm just ready to die. He's like, I'm fresh. I'm ready to go. So I'm really excited. He seems excited. So we have the goalie situation solved. And so Dylan's in the league.
So let's hear that breakdown then.
Oh, I mean, as Troy said, it's just a drop in. And true, it is just a drop in. I mean, there was a lot of goals scored tonight, both ways. I mean, I know Conner hasn't skated in a couple of weeks, so Conner was looking a little rusty out there. But like kind of Troy said a little bit earlier, Dylan's was his 5th, 6th skate. So I mean, the dude's amped to be in the league, and that's kind of the most important thing. And then secondly, he's also a goaltender with solid goaltender mechanics. I mean, you've seen that before. I said that last week, but I think both of them would like to have a couple of them back tonight. I think the one Antioch scored was like I kind of passed to him where he did like the Bobby Orr and tripped was like, oh, okay. But I mean, like you said, it's a drop in, and going forward in the draft, you kind of have to. It's a tough decision whether you're going to draft somebody for the potential or when you draft somebody for right now. Because I mean, Dylan could be like lights out like in 3 months. Like so once he starts playing, he gets more underneath his belt. I mean, you have no idea. He could be like as good as Flo. Like so, it's kind of like, do you draft for potential or do you draft for right now? For me, like where he sits, he's probably sits at like that 6th spot, maybe the 7th spot. Maybe the 5th. It's like all the
when we walked in. When we walked in, Hedda said, "I think I'd take Riley over Dylan," and I was like, "Whoa, whoa."
Yeah, just because Riley's working out every day at the gym, man. I go up there. We go up the Motor City Iron Works over on what was it, Van Dyke? We get those squats in. He's got that cardio. Now whether
you
his
guys are looking jacked.
Whether his mechanic, thanks for coming from one jack dude to another. That sounds so bad. Yeah, but is his mechanics as good as, or is Riley mechanics as good as Dylan's mechanics? I mean, that's for, I guess, every viewer to choose and decide. But from like an actual cardio perspective, I think Aaron moves really well around the crease right now, just because he's been hitting the gym, working out, and everything else. But does that change after a handful more skates and once Dylan starts skating weekly? Yeah, probably can. I mean, everybody can move up and down. Same thing with me. I was rusty my first 2 skates in spring. I mean, I let 4 goals up, and Pete got 2 of them, and I didn't hear the end of it. So, I mean, once I got the 2nd, 3rd, 4th game in, I did better.
And I think the most important thing here is he fits into the proper skill level. You know, he's not some guy who played college hockey his whole life that's going to dominate, win you games no matter what your team's like. And he's not someone who's going to be, you know, no offense, Charles. He's not a Charles Mackey back there who might look good for 5 minutes, lose all his stamina, and then give up goal after goal. So he fits into the league. He's going to make a team competitive, have a good spot for that league.
I think every gym in the league, and Troy's kind of touched on this before, just wants their goalie not to give up like that deflating goal. I mean, you don't have to do anything spectacular in this league. I mean, let's be honest, there's not tons of spectacular players in the league either. But that being said, as long as you stop the shots you're supposed to, I mean, and have a beer after the game, I mean, that's half the fun in the league. That's what you're supposed to do. So, and Dylan's got the attitude, so he'll stay after, have a beer. He'll be wingman. Dylan's a great guy. Like I'm happy to have Dylan in the league, and having a beer after him on that blue party deck is just that much more reason to bring him into the league.
Totally agree. So we also, when we were short on the skate, we had a call out to bring some friends, possible people with this emergency to come out. Let's try to review some of these people real quick before we get down back to our normal players. Even the new guys. We had Crunk show back up. I actually thought he looked a little bit better as a skater than he did when he played with us 2 years ago. I wouldn't say he's anything super special. There's a lot of times, majority of the time out there, I didn't notice him. But I would actually say for probably where he's going to be drafted, that's a good thing. Where I didn't see it like him messing up giant plays. I didn't see him creating a whole lot. But for a 10th rounder, possible 9th rounder, not noticing the bad is probably more important than noticing good.
I couldn't agree more. You know, I guess you can say he's not horrifically bad, which is a good compliment for a 10th rounder. But little inside scoop, saw Crunk in the locker room. So I said, hey, have you been skating? And he said that he has been skating this year, but then that was kind of put to a halt. He had a little snowboarding injury to the shoulder. But he had been skating a little bit before, which I didn't know that. I thought he was basically going to come in off of a 1.5-year break. I don't know how much his evaluation changed. I think I always had him kind of squarely ahead of the Hale, Charles, Sam crew. I think he's right in there with, the Jim Ellis, Vanandi, Justin Wright, somewhere in there. Maybe a little bit more of an upside. I'm not sure. So, yeah, I think he looked good, and I do think he looked a little bit better than I expected. So I think he'll go late 9th, early to mid 10th.
It's a fair assessment. There's a couple times I chipped the puck up to him, and I was like, "Who's that?" Oh, that's Kronk. Hey, what's going on, Kronk? And he just took the puck up. So it's good when you look up, and even if you're a low end guy, I mean, like myself as a skater, I'm a low end guy. But if you look up, there's some guys you like, oh, I'm going to pass to him because he's the 2nd or 3rd rounder. And then sometimes you look off like a 9th or 10th rounder. When you can look up and you can pass to your 9th or 10th rounder, and they can, make the cross pass or the outlet pass to get out of the zone, and then you can relieve that pressure. That's huge. So he caught a couple passes today, and I thought that kind of was nice. So I kind of agree with Troy's rating there, where he's above the bottom of the 10th. I wouldn't put him early 9th though. I'd probably put him like that mid late 9th.
Yeah, and he's got some size to him, big kid.
Next guy on the list, I think his name was Keith Wood. I think he was one of Dave P's buddies. He had a Bulldogs kind of ugly teal jersey on.
Yeah, that was gross.
He definitely, like, if I know nothing, they just judging by appearances, it's like, okay, who brought this guy? I'm like, that's a fucking Dave P special. He got this disgusting kind of white and teal jersey with the pit bulls, and then he's got like these kind of white skates. He looks, kind of a gangster, just like a little mini Dave P. I remember that other guy that he used to bring around. I don't know what was his last name was David Jeffrey. What did he call him?
David J.
Kentucky Woman or something like that. Kentucky Joe, whatever the hell his name was.
Sounds like a trucker stop, like meth dealer.
So
Kentucky
I mean,
Joe.
Appearances. This guy is just right off the Dave P tree. I don't know. Like, definitely probably grew up in Roseville. Nothing against Roseville, but whatever. So that's on the looks department. I will say on the ice, I kind of like the guy. He had some instincts. He did a little drop pass. Like he did some stuff. I was impressed with him. Not a great skater. So I think, kind of round wise, I think he's in that, 6, 7, 8. It's tough for one skate to and then you don't have the rest of the league in front of you. So 6 might be a little high, but 7, he's not he could function out there. So, and seems really excited about the league. Again, that's the important thing. It's like we want someone who's going to show up every Monday and is going to be excited about it, going to participate in Slack, hang out afterwards. So I think he checks all those boxes. And again, all these references to being kind of a gangster, I mean that as a term of endearment. I mean, we all love Dave P., our little gangster, makes us tougher.
So now you're throwing out compliments. That's supposed to be my thing. I'm getting razzed for it. Now he's throwing out compliments. So I'll play the bad cop in this situation. So anyone that lets me take the puck away from them at the blue line, you can't go higher than 7 or 8. Because I'm like late 8th if I was being in this league, or a 9th round pick. Like the way my wheels are out there, I don't have great axle mobility.
See how Head has turned this all about himself? We're talking about Wood here.
I know. I'm about to lay it down. So there's a couple times
I was related to you guys.
Apparently, I mean, it's what happens. You get two an ex-goalie and a goalie in a room, and you just want to gas yourself up. So there's a couple times I stood at the blue line where I was able to poke a puck away, but there's also a couple times where he would come in from the boards when he got the puck down low, and he may not have the greatest hands, but he's aggressive with the puck. He takes it to the net, and there's not a lot of low-round guys that are going to drive the net like that. Like Michael Shepard does that sometimes when he plays forward. I know Justin's been getting better at that, but not low-level guys will take the puck to the net. So that's good to see from him if you're looking for a forward.
Yeah, he put the puck in the net 2 to 3 times tonight. So, I mean, again, it's only a drop-in, but, hey, that was 2 or 3 times more than Serta.
Yeah, I mean...
Didn't mean it like that, but, I'm saying he put the puck in the net somehow, some way.
Real quick, MD Ham, thanks for the follow. Going back to Wood, seemed like a nice guy. Introduced myself. I had to make sure I had a who do you know to get into the skate just to figure out who he was. Like you said, Dave P. special. Seemed like a nice guy. Little hyper, quick talker. Seemed fired up though, so that's always a good thing. I agree. 7th, 8th round area. Wasn't a horrible skater. His hands sometimes looked good, sometimes looked bad. He's a bender, inconsistent. Didn't seem like he always knew what to do with the puck. I mean, I can relate to that. I mean, there was times where I felt like there was open passes, he wasn't giving it up type of thing. Like I said, just typical bender when it comes down to it to me.
Yeah. I don't... He came in and he executed multiple kind of come in the zone, do a drop pass. He was also talk. I like guys that talk, It's like you're on the ice, talk to me, tell me where you're at,
Yep. None
of us are that great, and even in real hockey, these guys are talk. So, 8th rounds too, I think he's a solid 7th rounder, I think he's got something there.
Yeah, I also don't know with some of these guys coming in what they were told, if this was just a drop in, what they were told about the league. So next guy on the list would be, I think it was a Chris Reynolds. He came in the locker room. He seemed super pumped up. He was a friend of Ryan Allen. I was under the impression that he almost thought he was in the league. But then when he came out afterwards, he was like, I can't commit to anything, with kids and all that kind of stuff. Seemed like a nice guy. He played high school hockey. I thought he was pretty decent, probably like a 5th rounder-ish.
It's a bummer because of all the guys, he would have been a nice fit because he could make some plays. He's definitely, I think he's a solid 5th rounder, just from looking at it. I think he'd be late 4th, 5th. If you got him in the 6th, it would kind of be a steal. But he could definitely make some plays, saw the ice well. Just a real nice, solid player. But I don't want to waste too much time if there's zero chance if he's going to be in the league. But maybe Ryan Allen can, lock that down one way or the other. But he would be a nice little fit for the league. I thought he was a good player.
Yeah, outside of like him lacking some cardio towards the end when we had like 3D and we're rotating through, he had manned the puck well. He scored a couple goals. He played some good defense. So
yeah, and there was a guy. He was in all black with a white helmet on the black team. I wasn't 100% sure who that was.
So that was I got that right here. So this is Turnbull's buddy. His I think his first name was Mike, but the last name is definitely Sikorsky. And this is a guy, Turnbull, like last week again. There was this process that started at least a month ago. Like, hey, we're expanding to 7 teams. If you have someone that you want in the league, let us know. So Turnbull just ignores that process. And then like 2 weeks ago, you must have been hanging out with him or something.
Hey, how do I get a guy into the league?
Yeah, I got this guy. But anyways, I'm glad that he did because at the time we didn't have any openings, but now we might. So he came in the locker room. So he's an anesthesiologist, which is nice to have professional. That's what's great about our league.
Nice to have professionals in the league.
You got Gangster Roseville, and then you got this anesthesiologist.
And then you got Dave P playing Fortnite.
A little bit of everything, but he's an anesthesiologist, professional guy. He seems really excited about joining, which is good. Brought a few beers, brought some Yingling for the boys.
Apparently I was in the wrong locker room.
Yeah, so seems very excited, and I thought he was a competent player. It's tough because I appreciate these guys, my whole drop-in and the guys that wear gray, so I said wear black, and there's like 8 guys wearing jet black, so it's like it was
no numbers, no nothing. It was with like Crunk, Shawnee,
even Hedis, I was confusing Hedis. I'm like, God, I thought this guy would be a little bit better, and I'm like, oh, it's Hedis, but anyways, so this guy, it's tough to get a rating, but he could skate a little bit. I think he's probably similar to that Reynolds guy, maybe a smidge worse, but he could skate. He had some nice drop-ins, like kind of drop passes entering the zone. I think he scored one. So I think he'd be a real nice guy to have in the league. So I hope that works out. And I think probably another, 5th, 6th round type guy.
Yeah, I thought he was a solid 6, maybe early 7th rounder. Defensively, I don't think his defenseman. He said he wanted to play defense. There's a couple times people kind of just walked him like they'd walk me. I think he's a better forward, though. He's back checking really well. And he had the cardio and the wheels to get back and back check. And so, parking him on like a wing on the second line or something like that would be pretty solid.
Yeah, and the youth hockey connection. So Dave P., goalie Dylan, and this Sikorsky, their kids are all on the same team. So they'll be hanging out a lot.
Oh, there's gonna be that's a draft conspiracy. You can draft all 3 of them on the same team.
Yeah, well, it's nice. I'm just saying, when you're sitting at the rink on Wednesday at your son's hockey practice and you're talking about it, adds to the excitement when you see people around. So he's a hockey guy. He's got kids in hockey. I think he'd be a real solid ad. No drama.
Talking about the NHL after in the locker room about the signing. So he's a knowledgeable guy too.
Yeah, like he looked competent to me. I had a hard time getting a feel for it. I think part of it was because of the black jerseys. I'd like to see him skate one more time. But, overall, he looked, he didn't look out of place. He looked like he belonged, so I think that's a good thing. I think with this, kind of assuming that we're going to have 3 positions as of right now open.
2. There was 3, but the Pilot had first rights.
Okay,
yeah,
with
the guy
the 2 spots
guy
open.
with the sick pants. Yeah, the Capitals pants.
Yeah, that's right. Pellet, wasn't it?
Pilot, Pelot, I don't know.
I think he told. I talked to him personally. He told me it was pellet, like
is it
rabbit
French?
pellet.
Oh, it's rabbit pellet. Okay.
Type of thing. So,
was that like Hungarian?
these are the times where it's kind of nice not being in the ivory tower to have to try to make decisions like these, because it sounds like we have more than 2 people that would like to get in, and making those cuts and whatnot is always a tough thing.
I don't know who else is like ready. Again, like there's a difference between saying I'm interested and like, okay, if I will commit today, I'll send the Venmo, boom, I'm in. So to me, right now we have 2 spots opening, and if we have 2 guys that are willing to make that commitment, we'll see. But until we have 3 or 4, I'm not worried about choosing. We got to get to 2 first. So anyways, but this guy was solid.
Yeah, so let's move on to our player profiles. So kind of back to where we were. Our first guy on the list would be Mr. Gibb.
Bobby Gibb.
Bobby Gibb.
I actually spoke with Bobby Gibb today about some other issues. Little youth hockey mixed in with whatever. But Bob's been in the league from day one. Original North Star, people forget that first year. I don't think there's much mystery with Gibb. I think Dickie Dunn, I think when he goes through these mock drafts, I think he just flat out forgets some guy. He actually did a reasonably decent job this time. If you remember, I think you were gone, but I think last year Ben did like a mock draft within like 10 seconds, and there was like guys completely missing. Like Kimmel went in like the 9th round, So I think Dickie Dunn did a nice job. So I hate to pick on a guy who puts in work and content like Dickie Dunn does. But I think Gibb in the 10th round was definitely a mistake, by Dickie Dunn. I think Gibb will go in that. I've done many mock drafts. I know exactly where Gibb's going to go. He's going to be late 8th, early 9th. He can play D for you. He can play forward. He's just, what you're going to get with Gibb. He's not going to score a bunch of goals, but, he's not a difference maker, but he's above the complete bender, area.
He's going to chip up the boards? Is that what he's going to do?
Yeah, he can do that.
Cue the drop.
Yeah, I mean, every time I've ever talked to Gibb, super nice guy.
Nicest guy in the league.
Like him a lot. Never actually played with him on a team before, but he always seems pretty solid out there. Not a superstar, but for where you're going to draft him, he's going to be a solid player that'll help out your team.
And you're not going to get many guys late in rounds like, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th that can play 2 positions. There's maybe 3 off the top of my head I can think of, and he's one of them. So it's kind of neat that you can play defense or forward. So if you're down shorthanded, 4-on-3 or a 5-on-4, you can plug him in on defense maybe if 2 defensemen in the box, or like you need a forward to go just like chase the puck and stay in your box. You can put him out there.
Yeah, it's nice to get, like, even Wilkie, like, who's probably the lowest ranked defenseman. But when you're doing your mock drafts, when you get, like, a Wilkie who can play, some type of competent, defense, and you get him in the late 9th round, it allows you to draft, more forwards. So it helps your roster. And that's the same thing with Gibb. If you're going to draft Gibb and you can play him at D, that gives you one extra spot. Because normally, like, if you draft Charles Mackey, Sam Mackey, Venandi, Justin Wright, like it's like that one of your right wings is going to be one of these benders. So, but if you can use that late round pick for a Bob Gibb, then you can actually put together like a star line, But I don't think anyone's getting Gibb in the 10th round. That's a Dickie Dunn mistake. I think he will be late 8th. I see him being all of my mock drafts have him going to either the Americans or Tigers, either in the late 8th, early 9th. He's right around in that Oliveri, Colin Neville, kind of that
I am
area.
2nd overall in the 9th too. So
next guy on the list would be Brian Belasia.
Belasia, here's an interesting one. I think we covered this in the breaking news, coming off of a horrific injury. This is the one where I don't know if Pistol Pete listens or not. I'm kind of surprised that I figured he'd be a listener, because especially when I told him that we talked about him, I figured Pete would run right there.
Ooh, he grabs the wrist strength. He's just sitting there listening to the podcast, building the wrists up.
I thought he'd at least like fast forward to his spot. Like, where am I? Give me the minute mark. But anyways, horrific injury. I was not there, or I think I was playing on the other sheet when it happened, but really a bummer, bad injury. And I thought Pete handled it very poorly. I called him out on Slack. It's like, 2 days had gone by. He hadn't like sent Belasia a text like, "Are you okay, dude?" It's like, so I thought, Pete handled that bad. But that's a side note. So I talked with Belasia. He's actually, my friend. I worked in the same building with him for a number of years. He hopes to be skating by September. So I definitely think he's going to be kind of slow getting up to speed. Belasia's another guy married with, he has at least 3 kids, maybe 4.
What happened? So, for me, fans at home, not everyone's going to know. Some of the new guys may not know.
I don't know if Piercy watched it live, but basically my understanding is Belasia has a reputation in the league of kind of playing the body. I don't understand why people get extremely upset about it. Basically, if he's playing defense and he thinks he's going to get beat, he'll basically throw an old-fashioned little hip check, and he gets called for interference a lot, and then he gets called for interference, he goes to the box, he serves his 2 minutes, and he doesn't care. But some people, have kind of taken offense to him. So I think he got into it with Pete early in the game, And then later in the game, Pete was like, and he might have even knocked down Pete, God forbid. And Pete's like, you fuck with me, I will fuck with you.
Greek God strikes back.
Then I think they just went after a puck in the corner, and Pete kind of popped him, and then Balasia's skate caught somewhere, and then his bust broke his leg.
I was off the ice. I was kind of more down at the other end, had a bad angle of it, but I don't think Pete did anything wrong. I don't think it was malicious.
I don't think so either.
I think like you said, I think Balasia was playing the body, and when someone does it against you, yeah, you might lean into them a little bit more because you know they're going to play your body, and you can't just sit there and let them take you down type thing or push you around. You got to stand your ground there, and I think he was doing that. I think his blade caught the ice, a bad freak accident. Yeah, I mean, did Pete handle it the best? Probably not.
Yeah,
but I also don't think that Pete did anything wrong. But at the same time, I don't think I did anything wrong with the Justin play. But I also sent him a message, how you doing, things like that. He's like, I feel bad about it. Like, those are the things where nobody wants anybody to get hurt, and you feel bad about it, and you at least check on the person and say
that's exactly,
what's going on.
Does Pete have his number, though? I mean, Pete doesn't have his number.
Direct messages in Slack. That's how I sent him to Justin.
True.
Exactly. Or, hey, who has Balasia's number? Let me be clear. I'm not saying that Pete intentionally set out to injure him. Not saying that at all. But it's like, I don't care if it was my worst enemy. If I'm involved in a tangle up and the guy breaks his leg, I'm going to feel horrific. Like, on the spot, after, I'm going to reach out. That's just kind of like normal courtesy. So when I say Pete handled it bad, not accusing him of intentionally harming, but it's like, just be a decent human and make sure that the dude's okay.
Yeah, that sounds pretty gnarly. I mean, you get an early injury like that, you're going to want to, I kind of agree, you kind of want to reach out.
But back to Balasia, the player. So Balasia's got a bunch of kids. He was kind of husky, to put it politely, to start. Now he's been immobile, so I suspect that he's not in very good shape. He's probably tacked on more weight. So, I think Balasia, his first year as a North Star, I think I got pretty good value. I think I got him in like the 7th or even 8th round.
Yeah, you did.
And he was pretty solid. Then the Americans last year drafted him too early. I think they took him in like the 4th or 5th. So now I think he'll probably fall back. I think he'll be drafted behind the Sukases and the Turnbulls, and because he was one of the first defensemen taken by the Americans, past after the Chris Taylors and the Stars, But Balasia was taken above Turnbull, Sukas, Leroy, all those guys. So I think Balasia will probably be taken lower this year. I think he'll drop into that 7th round, 7th, 8th round slot, and I think he'll eventually get there. But it's going to be some rust when we start.
It's a tough thing too. I mean, do you play when you draft him? September, he's probably going to miss a couple games. He's probably going to be once he comes back is actually the more scary part, because with our sub rules in the regular season, it can be an advantage to be able to sub a couple spots up. So you're not really getting hurt. I guess technically we do have the 7-team bye rule that might bite you in the ass there.
Yeah.
But even once he comes back, he's got to be a little bit tentative. Like, you're probably... First of all, he might be tentative the whole year to even come back. Second of all, maybe he'll be good by the playoffs, but he's probably not going to be the same player for most of next year.
I agree. I mean, and that's why I think he will. I think he will fall.
Okay, moving on to our next player, Busta.
Oh, I thought it's funny.
Mrs. Busta's cookies.
I saw Piercy's eyes light up. And I'm like, oh, shit, we're in the B's. He's probably going to say Brian Piercy. But no, we're on Busta. I didn't know we were doing the GMs. But, draft position's irrelevant. I think Busta's locked into the 9th round. There was some discussion in the Ivory Channel about possibly bumping him up to the 8th. I'm fine with Busta in the 9th. The dynamics of it, and this is what happened with kind of last year. If you put Busta in the 8th round, okay, and it's unique because he can score, he's got soft hands, but he's not a great skater. So if you put Busta in the 8th round, that means that in the 9th round they're getting like a Venandi, and in the 10th round they're getting a Hale. So no matter what the Ducks did last year, and kind of what we've talked about with Gibb and Wilkie, none of those guys can play defense. So therefore, you got to play one. You can play Busta on the star line, but then your second line you have Hale and Venandi. So I don't care if you put Proctor in the middle of Hale and Venandi. It's a tough flow. So by putting Busta in the 9th round, Busta's a functional, can play on the top line with 2 good players, and then they'll get their last pick, which will be a Hale, and I think they'll have a chance to compete this year. So I'm fine with that. behind the scenes, behind the Iron Curtain, Serta's just a giant ball buster. He wants to put me in like the 6th round, even though I can't fucking skate. You know, Ryan Allen like left me in the dust tonight. You know, like he did this little like he kind of peeled back, and it was at the end of the skate, and I was tired. But it's like, anyways, Serta just wants.
Well, it kind of makes up though. Turtle's 3rd round, isn't he?
Correct.
So, if I'm being honest, Turtle's not a 3rd rounder to me. He's like 4th rounder. So I mean, it kind of balances out that. If Busta is going, like you're saying, in the 9th round, and Turtle's going in the 3rd round, it kind of balances out, like draft slot wise.
But Busta's the player. Everyone knows Busta. You know, you put him with good players, he can finish in front of the net. He's not going to carry.
Yeah, he can. He can finish on me.
Yeah, he's not going to carry. He's not going to skate the puck through the neutral zone. He's not going to do much. But you know, paired with the right guys, you know, he can be effective. The cookies are just the
cookies are the
bonus.
Plus. That's the icing on the cake, on the Busta cake.
I mean, we know he has a shot. We know he can score.
He can stand in front of the net.
I bet you when he was in high school, he was fairly athletic. Not anymore. He's out of shape. Cardio bad. He can't hop over the boards. That's a giant minus. I have a hard time respecting hockey players who can't jump over the boards. Ooh. But that's a whole nother story there. But, I mean, I think where he's going to get his pick is great value there. I think there definitely could be worse guys. If he ever went on a health and wellness kick, he could probably jump up 3 or 4 rounds.
I will say, I've never actually played with Bus. I've only played against him. And I got a chance to play with him for the Must Be Nice after we made that trade. And again, the offensive prowess is there. I was disappointed with how bad he was in the defensive zone. Like, he makes limited effort to like get to the after the defenseman's engaged in a battle, and all they want to do is outlet it to their wing on the boards. And Busta, he bungled that play multiple times, you know, just either whether it's like holding it and making an outlet pass or even just getting it the fuck out. Like he was, so I think he's fine in the 9th round, and I think he'd be bad in the 8th round. So, but that's Busta, great guy. We all love Busta. You know, if you remember, he called me a pussy, and we had a little fight in like the second year.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. Wish that was on Twitch.
We've come a long way, but I like Busta.
Okay, moving on. Next guy on the list would be Brian Leroy.
Woo! Leroy has got a reach. I love Leroy as a defenseman. I mean, I think everyone's kind of warmed up to Leroy over the couple years he's been playing. Tall guy, tall reach. He's comfortable when he's on the puck. He may not be the fastest guy in the league, but if you're looking for if you're looking for like a 1A, 1B type of defenseman, where like your first overall defenseman isn't star or some elite 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounder, you can get away with having like a Leroy and a Barani as your first pairing, which is great, right? So if you find a way to get Leroy, he doesn't have a lot of speed, but partner with someone else that's also competent, they'll be a shutdown pairing.
Leroy, Hedges was gone last year. Leroy went in like the 8th round last year, which I think was good value.
He went the pick before me.
Yeah. Fun fact, Leroy actually went to elementary school with the Otto brothers, and then he moved out of Grosse Pointe out to, I believe, Rochester, so didn't see him for literally 25 years. And I think he's Turnbull's buddy. I think he played out in that Onyx League with Turnbull, and then he came in the league, and it was like, oh, shit, Brian Leroy. So anyways, super nice guy. He's hot and cold. I mean, there are Sun games where Leroy looks great, and then there's other games where he just sucks. Like, it just, will have bad giveaways, gets kind of roasted. He's a bigger guy, and then I think one time he had his backup skates on or something when he subbed with us. So, yeah, I'm not as high on Leroy as Hedges is, just because Hedges is talking about like 1A, 1B. It's like, no, I think he's a good, second line defenseman. He was the 3rd defenseman on your team. He's better.
He's a great 3rd defenseman. He's probably, you'd prefer not to have him as your 2nd defenseman, but you might be able to get by. But where you have to draft him 7th round. I think that's pretty fair. And he's your 2nd guy, you're in trouble, because then you still have 2 more defensemen you have to take, which are 8 and 9 or 10. Then your team's really hurting. So you really want him as your 3rd.
It depends on who else is playing defense. So like that's what I'm saying. If you put Star right on the first line, right, and you had him in the 7th round, and that's your first round pair, like that's your first defensive pairing.
But then if your second pairing is only, if you need a third, you need 2 more guys after that, you're going to be dead.
So then you could,
one.
if you had someone else, I don't know, like you had Manny, or you had like if the Americans were drafting, they have Manny in the 2nd pairing with like a low rounder. What I'm saying is he can be a I guess not 1A was a 1A 1B is kind of like a. Not exactly what you'd want, but if he could partnered with like a Bronny or someone else that's competent on that first pairing, that's not a bad first pairing. But yes, you're going to want someone on the second pairing that can partner with a low round defenseman that they can get by.
And Piercy's kind of, I understand what Piercy's saying. He's like, if he's your second defenseman, you have two after him, you're fucked. But sometimes sometimes you don't play your top two defensemen together. So sometimes you play your first defenseman with the third, and then your second with the fourth to try to have some balance. Every team's a little bit different, but I think Leroy will. He's in that, like, do I want Leroy, Joe Brennan? He's kind of in that that kind of category. I think the Sukases and the Turnbulls will get drafted in front of him. He's in that Brennan, Piercy, Leroy. Like, that'll be intriguing to see how that order goes.
Speaking of which, Mr. Piercy is next on the list.
Skip.
I can take it. I'll start. I'll start with myself. I think I've gotten a little bit faster in the last year, a little stronger. I've been playing defense for about 1.5 2 years now, so I think I've gotten smarter. I think I'm good when I play with someone consistently there, but at the same time, I'm not perfect. My cutting isn't great. Horrible hands.
Yes.
I don't like the puck being passed to me in the offensive zone, especially if it happens once and I miss it. Don't pass it to me the rest of the game because I get in my own head. I hate it. Sometimes I get into a groove where I'm like, oh, I'm feeling good today. It came to me. I'm making good plays. But otherwise, I know it's part of the flow of the game and you don't want to necessarily just pass it to someone, but I do get in my own head there. It's something I need to work on in this next year. I feel like I've slowly picked off points to work on and have improved in those areas. And I think stick handling / getting it at the point and just moving it correctly is one of those big things that I have to work on.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Piercy goes because he has improved. So I have a feeling someone might actually take him too high, but we'll see where that goes. I know exactly what I'm going to get with Piercy if I draft him. He's definitely improved. He's a pretty good, solid defenseman. Again, the nice thing about having Piercy on your team is, again, you could probably get him, I don't think he's going to go in the 7th round, but I do think he could go in the 8th. Most likely will go in the 8th. Late 8th, early 9th is kind of where I have him in my mocks. He might even go higher than that. But you know what you're going to get, and if you get him late, the later you get him, the better because of what I've talked about. It allows you to maybe avoid having two benders as forwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, roster flexibility.
But here's the thing with Piercy. Definitely has improved. He's your definition of a stay-at-home defenseman. Like, he's going to usually make the right play. He's going to be in the right spot. He's got area of improvement is he reminds me of, like, my son's, there's a couple kids on my son's hockey team that are way better skaters than Piercy, but it's like they just have this, like, I get the puck and I'm just going to chuck it up the boards, no creativity. Mm-hmm. And in this league, it doesn't hurt you. It's like Piercy is not going to hurt you. He's not going to do the Joe Brennan, like, panic, throw it up the middle. He's just going to chuck it up the boards. Where it gets frustrating is, like, because I play with Piercy a decent amount, and it's like, dude, get your head up, have a little confidence. Let's go D to D. Let's move the fucking puck around a little bit. And Piercy cannot do that. So he's going to chuck it up the boards, and that's what he's going to do. But there's, and there's worse things than that. But you know what you're going to get. There's another couple times, too, he gets the puck in the defensive zone, and he just stops. So he has it, and again, he doesn't want to skate the puck, so he'll just literally, like, stop. And then when you do that, then someone can just bear down on you. You have no options when you're stationary. So it's like just have a little confidence, get the feet moving. Mm-hmm. That'll be the areas of improvement. But he's made great improvement. I think he probably will go. My official prediction is I think he'll go in that 8th round. Again, he's in that. To me, he's in the Brennan, Leroy, Piercy, kind of in that range.
Yeah, I like Piercy. I mean, I've been playing with you for a little bit on the Worms. Sometimes it's partner, sometimes it's not. I kind of agree with Troy where you're not pucking with defenseman. If you have the puck on your stick, and it's not necessarily panic mode, or I don't know if it's, I guess, like spatial awareness or hockey smarts. You don't, like, stop and, like, pick up your head, or you don't go, oh, I know this person's on the board. So whereas me and Troy, like, we can't skate to save our lives. I feel like if we have the puck on our sticks and, like, the zone, we as we're playing goalies, we kind of think, oh, okay, so someone's gonna be here, and we make that right pass. Whereas you'll go out and grind out and get that puck, and you'll chip it out of the boards. So if you ever can add that to your game, or you can add, like, a nice shot from the point, and then you won't feel like you have to always stick handle or pass to somebody else. You'll be great going forward.
Side note, little brag for both of the co-hosts here. There's one time the puck came out to Piercy in the drop-in today, and I was like, shot, and Piercy put a little knee-high clapper, and I had a fucking tip, and the goddamn thing almost went in. It was a nice play. So if Piercy has time to set up, he can get that slapper off. If there's any, like, kind of rush or a panic, then he's kind of fucked. But, again, the strength of, I'm not trying to be too negative, because with Piercy, like, it's that next evolution is to get the head up and be more creative. However, he will not hurt you, because like his default button is to go up the boards. And as a defenseman, that's not the worst thing in the world.
And as a goalie, I'm like just my crease just fist pumping like Tiger Woods. I'm like, yeah, that's right up the boards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas
I know where I have areas to work on. I feel like even today, more passes coming across. I handled most of them decently. I think it's a start. I think it's just keep working on that. I think the problem is a lot of times in game situations, especially playoffs or like the worms, I don't really like those situations because I could fuck it up.
Yeah.
Where like something like today, it's great. Yeah, pass me the puck over,
Yeah.
I fuck it up. Who cares? I don't care. But I think we spent too much time on me, so let's move on to Manny.
Manny, another GM. Manny's, he's kind of, I don't want to compare him to Busta on the player, but just kind of a boring, like, you know what you're going to get with Manny. I think he's slotted, I believe, in the 7th round.
That sounds high to me. No offense to Manny, but I feel like
but again, when we do these GM pairings, it's not in a vacuum. You have to take them as the unit. They're getting Antioch as a second round, the last pick in the 2nd round, which is 14 overall. And if you were to do if Antioch was in the free draft, I think he'd probably go, 8, 9, 10, 11, because he's just a sniper. Mm-hmm. Antioch we've talked about it before. There's not that many guys that can put the puck in the net. My wife's calling. Anyways, and Antioch is one of them. So that was kind of the trade-off, is if they're going to steal with Antioch in the 7th. Manny, you could make a case for him being an 8th rounder, but because of Antioch, he's in the 7th. The other thing is, where they're at in the draft, 7 or 8 doesn't matter. He's the last pick of the 7th or the first of the 8th. So doesn't really you're not going to put him he's not going to be a 9th rounder. No. So he's kind of, it says 7th, but 7 or 8, there's no distinction.
He's also kind of streaky as a player, though, as well. I remember from 2 years ago when I was in the Americans, when I was playing, he'll have some games where it's like, whoa, Manny, where'd you get the vision to this hit that guy cutting across the top of the zone? And then like the next game, Manny gets a puck from behind the red line, doesn't look up, makes the same pass. And then all of a sudden you have Pistol Pete picking off the puck at the top of the blue line instead, bearing down on you. So
Manny reminds me of a Nick Myers, where I think I talked about this last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, where one game you're like, damn, Manny's stepped up big time. And the next time you're just like, what the fuck is wrong with Manny type of thing. I think he's in my range, probably slightly better than me. I think there's some things I do better, some things I do worse.
He's not as aggressive as you, but he's got a little bit more wheels.
I was going to say he skates better than Piercy, but he could use a little more aggression. Other nice thing about Manny is he's the same flexible. He can play forward, he can play D. I think he actually wants to play forward this year from my discussions with him. But it's nice when you can get a guy in the 7th round that you can play it depending on how the draft goes. I'm kind of the same way. It's like it would be fun to play forward. Who doesn't want to play forward? But when you go through the kind of mock drafts, it's like when you can get a 7th rounder that can play D, there's some value there. And Manny can definitely play a competent D. He won a keg with the Americans, and so anyways, I think his draft slot is fair and great. Manny's a great guy, quiet. He quietly does a lot of things behind the scenes for the league. He's a contributor in the executive office. He actually designed the MNL logo. He does jersey mock-ups for people, so great guy. Everybody loves Manny. Pride of Saginaw.
Next guy on this list, a fan favorite, Mr. Big Sexy Charles Mackey.
Ooh, we've entered the seas.
Entered the seas. Yeah, Mackey is not only has he Charles Mackey and we entered the seas, he's also cat guy. I mean, that's what everyone always says the first thing. But no, Mackey Charles is a great guy in the locker room, great locker room presence, and also a great presence on the ice in special team situations. So yeah, you're on a power play, right? And you want somebody to go stand in front of the net. We pitched him in the spring a couple times. We're like, Charles, you're on the power play. Go stand in front of the net. Go screen the goalie, and he did that. Heck, when we beat the Fronts the one game 7-2, he even got a goal. I think it was a go-ahead goal where I think it was a power play where chipped the puck to the side of the boards, threw something on net, and he had backed out of the crease, was just standing there, turned around, threw it on net. What do you know? Bingo, bango, 3-2. So He can. There's some things he can do well. He can shoot, but I mean, for what you're getting with Charles, he's a 10th rounder, and he's one of the Mackey Bros. So
Yeah, who doesn't love Charles? It's like he's just the greatest. But it is funny. I love playing against Charles. He's in front of the net, and he is a big fucker, and he's tough to move out of the net.
Yeah,
but it's like I feel like I'm kind of tickling the Pillsbury Doughboy if I'm in front of the net. I kind of push him out, and he's like, hee, stop messing with me. He's so funny. It's like, or if you just drill him, and he's like laughing and smiling. He's just like the nicest guy in the world. And I'll say for Charles, it's like I think he's gonna get. Obviously, Sam's going to be dead last, and then it's like Hale or Charles. I think Charles has, just because of his age, probably a little more upside than Hale. But it'll be interesting. But Hale had a productive year as well. But there's no intrigue where Charles is going to go in the draft. He'll be one of the last three. But great locker room guy, great cat guy, just the best.
I mean, yeah, we like Charles. Charles is a good locker room guy. He's a fun guy to hang around with. But it's weird. Charles' stats have actually looked better, but I feel like he's regressed as a player.
I disagree.
He's
that is the worst take on this show that we've had out of our 3 episodes.
Do you want to hear why?
Yeah, okay, go ahead. Throw these
He's slower.
At me. Okay, he's slower.
He's bigger.
Mm-hmm.
His cardio's worse.
Okay.
He shows up less. I think he's
So out of those 4 things you just listed, I think only
Do you think
one of
shows
those
up less is
I think
is
only
a positive?
one of those things is true, and one of those things is actually a positive sometimes.
Which ones are true? Or which ones are false?
The only one that the first 3, the only one that's true is he shows up less sometimes. And that's because he drives from Ann Arbor. I think his skating stride since I left to go and played in the Djibouti Federal League, and came back here and left my contract there. His skating stride's gone from like a 0, or a half, to like a 5 or like a 4.5. Like it's gotten a lot better.
I agree.
He like you said, he's got more stats, as in he's got more goals. So I mean, you can't say a player's gotten worse if they've gotten more goals. I mean,
I think really what this is at is Piercy's a little bit jealous. Piercy is going to the gym, looking all sweet. Charles is getting chubby and fat, and he has the Indian bride. He's got Pookie, and Piercy's
got the Pookie magic, and he's
Piercy,
sniping him 5-hole right now on the goalie, so Piercy can't score.
Piercy's
so he's
got
jealous.
nobody. Piercy's got nobody. Big Sexy has Pookie, and now Piercy's jealous. That's what it comes down to.
Where's the drop? Piercy's laced up. He's mad. So it's okay. Well, you'll get some goals this year, maybe like a 1. But
I'm a defenseman. I'm not supposed to score. I'm supposed to keep the puck out of the net. But that's just how I feel. I mean, I feel like he's gotten slower, and I feel like I don't want to say he hustles less, but I feel like he's...
From my crease in spring, he's hustling a lot more. He used to have this weird stand-up kind of like skating style, kind of like Sam. And then this year I came back, I'm like, oh, whoa, Charles can skate like Justin. When did that happen?
I think he's gotten a little away from the tripod. Sam's got the tripod. He's got 2 legs and a stick, and that's how he balances himself. I think Charles is actually getting the arms moving a little bit, a little whoop shuffle there for everyone at home, a little whoop shuffle like Charles. But anyways, let's move on to the next one.
Your boys next on the list, actually back-to-back North Stars favorites, Mr. Charlie Graham next.
Charlie Graham, a little disappointing. He hasn't gotten out here yet. I really hope he comes next week. But for those that don't know Graham well, Graham is a great guy. Little side story here. No. I was laughing because about what I'm about to say. Little side story. Way back when. So Graham is a Michigan boy. He graduated from, I think, Sterling Heights Stevenson. Pretty good baseball player in high school. So
Alabama?
He actually went down to Alabama to play college. Not University of Alabama. I think it was either South Alabama or UAB, something like that. But he played college baseball, and he was kind of a big shot. Tried to take a run at it. Played professional ball for like a year. Then he
used to get blood transfusions before games.
He was the ultimate jock. I mean, he was went to Windsor and got in fights. He was just a meathead. Anyways, then he came after that dream was over. He came to Michigan to kind of restart things and got a job at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, where he worked with Brian Piercy.
I was one of his bosses.
And Graham tells this story about how he used to like maybe take out the nice cars and try to like bang chicks in the car, and like Piercy busted him or something like that, which is completely believable. So Graham subbed one night with WBW. He met Piercy, and
He's like, "Oh my God, my boss is here."
he was like, "Oh my God, it's that Piercy guy, the guy who used to, instead of being a cool boss, because it's like they're 20 and who gives a shit, it's Enterprise Rent-A-Car, but Piercy was the company man, that basically ratted out Graham. But anyway, so that
I don't think that story's
I don't
fully
know if
true.
it's
My
true.
boss was more of the jerk than me. I didn't care when he left. When he left, would he go to Taycom or something? He's like, yeah, I got like a whatever raise. I'm just like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. But anyway, so Graham now has now he's just a family man. He's got 2 kids. His son plays with my son on Little Caesars. Really good player. And Charlie's got a nice job. He works. He's a civilian Army employee. Kind of a bigwig up there. Actually, does pretty well. But real nice guy. Great locker room guy. Any team will be happy to have him. I do think showing up is going to be a little bit of an issue. But on the ice, he can play. He's a skater. I probably have him rated higher than everybody else because he's my buddy. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get him or not. North Stars have an intriguing pick in the 3rd round at number 18 because depending on how it goes, I'm going to be staring at, there's a possibility that Rattler's there, Gio's there, Graham's there, and I'd like to draft all 3 of them, but I can't. I can only take one. So
sounds like you need more picks in the 3rd round.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. But he's got good hands. He can finish. He's got a real hard slap shot. So the thing with Graham is he hasn't played in years. So then McCracken went down, and then the first game back, a little rusty. When he played 4 games in a row, he was kind of really killing it. People were like, "Holy shit, you're a fucker. You should be a 2nd rounder." Then he kind of returned to the norm. Then McCracken would come back and play 1 game, so Graham wouldn't play for 4 weeks, and then he'd come back and he'd play. So he's kind of in and out of the lineup, and he plays no hockey outside of MNL. So I think his stamina wasn't developed. But if he plays a full season and shows up every week, he knows how to play hockey. He knows how to put the puck in the net. So he's to me, he's going to go in the late 3rd, early 4th.
I haven't seen the guy play because he played last year, and I was playing Djibouti, so to Piercy.
Yeah, he always seemed like a solid guy. He seemed like a fair sub for McCracken. Obviously, we know that he's in that 3rd round range, so I think that's all fair. It's always hard sometimes when you're concentrating on your team. Hard to have a big opinion when he wasn't there 100% of the time. But speaking of who he replaced, Mr. Chase McCracken is up next. What's his status right now? I don't think we've seen him a whole lot. And are we confident he's going to be returning?
I would place the odds of McCracken actually being drafted, and those are 2 different stories. So I think he'll Venmo his money. So I do think he'll get drafted. Will he complete a full season? I'd say it's a 50-50 shot. Again, but I will say if he doesn't pay his Venmo, then that'll be an easy decision and he'll be out. He is not skated at all, other than when he had the brief playoff appearance with the North Stars. I talked to him how's your foot? He says it still hurts. So he's got a bum foot supporting a 400-pound man. So
a 90-mile-an-hour wrist shot.
Yeah. So I don't know. I really hope that so that's the kind of the negative. The positive is he's married. He has a kid. I think his lifestyle and drinking and all that is better. So maybe he'll lose a few pounds. But if he had 100% strength in the foot and he showed up every week, the guy's there's no player like him in the league. I mean, he shoots the puck harder than anybody, and he protects the puck.
He's the only guy in the league with a real shot. I'm going to be frank. As a
Yeah.
goalie, most of the people, I'm like, all right, I'm ready to stop this. I'll get ready. With McCracken, you have to, really zone in on the shot. Otherwise, it's not going to handcuff you. It's going to beat you if it goes in.
Yeah. So anyway, but he's tough to draft though because so he can absolutely snipe, and he's got beautiful hands. He does that little backhand. He can elevate the puck on the backhand. He's a shootout specialist. He puts the puck in the net. That's all the good stuff. But the bad stuff is you're drafting him in the 3rd or 4th round, and the fucker can't skate stamina wise. I mean, he's a beautiful skater. When he actually has that handful of times a game where he has that burst, it's a beautiful thing to watch because he's this huge man. He sticks the puck out here, and like come get the puck. There's no fucking
I
chance
like how
getting
you're
the
doing.
puck.
I like how you're doing
No.
the thing outside the camera,
Yeah.
so the camera can't see the hands. And
The
you're
camera's
you're
right
sitting
here. So he puts that puck out there, and you can't get the puck from him. So we'll see. I'm the only one who ever drafts the guy, so I'm not going to draft him in the 3rd round this year. But if he's there in the 4th round and he's draftable, that's like a guy that can finish like that in the 4th round. It's tough to pass up. I do think, here's another hot take, I don't think he'll be available. I'm not taking him in the 3rd round, and I do think the Whalers, if Serta can convince Trent, because I don't think Trent's much of a McCracken fan, I do think that the Whalers will take McCracken in the 4th round, and I think he'll be a Whaler.
the 4th round or the 3rd round?
4th round.
4th round.
I think we all know McCracken pretty well in the league. You know, like you said, he's got that 1 or 2 shifts in him where he's like no other player and can dominate a game. He'll come up the ice, push you around, and throw up a wrist shot in that top corner that the goalie won't even see. But then for the next 15, 20 minutes, he'll get on the ice. He won't go inside either blue line, and he'll be invisible. So there. But then again, our league, how valuable are points? How valuable are goals? So
The problem is, as he's gotten bigger and slower, he will put the puck in the net, but how many goals is what's going to be his plus minus? Because he has these shifts where he just, and again, here's a tricky thing. If you have somehow draft a good enough team where you can put McCracken as like the 3rd forward on a line, fucking awesome. But if you have, most times there's not enough good players in the league. So most lines, I mean, the Seals try to do the star line team thing, but most teams have 2 good forwards on a line and a bad player. So the problem with that, when you have General, is that when he's your 2nd good forward and then he gets gassed, he's just a defensive liability because now you have 1 good skater and then you got your Bender and then you got McCracken who won't back check.
But I mean, if you can put the thing though is if you put him on the 2nd line and like you're talking about, and even if like he's not that 3rd winger that you rotate through, he's on that 2nd line with someone else that's comparable that can skate. I don't know. I always think comes to mind is like Alan Z or like what's the new guy? It's AJ Powers. I mean, he's like around before him, but someone else that can skate. Put him on the 2nd line with him. Yeah. Like they could abuse 2nd lines.
Sure. Or in some ways, you almost need like to put him with a Dave P who can sit back.
Dave P, the general.
Yeah. Well, Dave, I still think he's a good defensive player.
Yeah.
He can help make up for the liabilities there. And if you could almost get like a Colin Neville to play forward with them, say what you want. Colin's in good shape. Colin can move pretty well. Yeah. If you can just focus on defense at that spot and just have General almost be that cherry picking forward, you can have like if you get like a Bender that has a motor that could just focus on defense, have a center that's actually a strong defensive player, and just do your thing, General. Yeah. Don't even come into the defensive line. Yeah. You're going to get that puck. You can fire it in. I think that's kind of how you got to use the General.
Yeah, I don't disagree. One thing before we move on, also a penalty machine. Basically, he's going to take a dumb fucking penalty. If someone touches him, he's going to fucking hook. That's the other thing. He's fat and lazy. So if someone goes by him, he can't just let them go by. It's like, you just let Sugar fucking go by. Nope, he's going to throw on the stick and fucking slash him. So it's like, he's an instant fight, So there's all these things that come with the General. So it's, it's like if you draft him, and trust me, I know because I've drafted him more than anybody, you're going to be in the executive office and you're going to have to be defending the General. It's like, because everyone's going to want the General suspended. It's like, what the fuck? So it'll be good for like 2 weeks. And he's going to, if Sugar just messes with him, he's going to fucking hack the shit out of Sugar. So you can just predict these fights that are going to happen before they even happen.
So draft stock down from 3 to 4 probably is what you're feeling.
Depend. Yeah, and then there's certain teams that just won't draft him. So I don't think Panny will take him. The people that will actually take him are the Seals.
His team could actually use him, the Panny, like the Nordiques.
I'm just saying. Maybe. I mean, who knows? But he'll be a Seal, a Whaler, or a North Star.
Next on the list would be Mr. Chatterbox, Chris Taylor.
Chris Taylor, forward or defenseman, I think it's the biggest dilemma every time he's on a team because he can skate, he can stick handle. Again, another guy that's going in that 2nd round. The Seals have kind of let the world know that they want to draft Chris Taylor. Whoop has a weird kind of Chris Taylor fetish where he's like, ooh, Chris Taylor, I got to pick up Chris Taylor. So it's kind of like, well, we know what team he's going to play for if he's available there. I like Chris Taylor, frankly, as a defenseman because he's got wheels. He headmans the puck, and there's not that many elite defensemen. I use that term loosely, quote unquote elite, like round 4 and up, that will headman the puck from your own blue line into the other team's zone and with speed. And he's got that ability. Defensively, he's good. So
when I think of headman, I think of like making an outlet pass, and that's not what Chris Taylor does. He's like what he does is he rushes the puck. That's he scoops it up and he's gonna go. But I can't remember Chris Taylor making a lot of like badass outlet passes. But I could be wrong. But again, not much intrigue with Taylor. You know what you're gonna get with him. I think Whoop is actually initially gonna draft him to be part of the star line with Shawnee and Ben. I tend to agree with Hedis. Kind of like him as a defenseman. A couple times that, I don't know if this was last year or many times, but where he really thrives, I feel, is when he plays, and this doesn't make sense with the guy that you draft this high, but it's happened, where he plays defense against another team's second line.
What?
This has happened. I don't know if it was as a sub, but when he's on that second line defense, he basically just scoops up the puck behind the net and he just dominates because he's out there with a bunch of benders and he rushes the puck. I don't know if this was spring when he was doing it or whatever, but the Seals tried everything last year to get some scoring because they couldn't. But
the nice thing about Taylor is you can draft him and you can put him. You can kind of let the draft come to you and not worry about positioning, and you can put him at forward or defenseman, and he's going to be good either way. Like you said, kind of give him that go on defenseman. Let him be an offensive defenseman. He's still good on the D side. If not, I mean, the guy's got a motor. He can go. It's a super good thing. He's kind of like a Shawnee in that kind of situation there. Another thing is, I don't think people realize how fiery he is. I mean, even this spring on the bench, he's pissed off. He's yelling. He's screaming. He's pissed off at people. I played with him before, and I don't think I saw that side of him. But with me and him being defensive partners for most of the spring, I was just like, holy shit, he's fiery.
Here's a chatterbox.
He likes to win. And that I was going to say that's the only drawback, in the locker room. He's just going to piss everybody off because he's always running his mouth,
That's not. That's the thing. He doesn't actually in the locker room. He doesn't talk. He's in. He's out.
That was a joke.
That was the fastest I've ever seen anyone get undressed today. He got undressed in like 4 seconds. It's a onesie. He unzips it from the back. Real talk. So, he laced him up pretty good today. He's laced him up pretty good in the past spring and other winter seasons. You know what you're gonna get when you got Chris Taylor. You know he's a Renaissance man, forward defenseman. I feel he headmans the puck. Maybe Troy doesn't. I feel like he can skate with the puck. He can do everything. That's why you draft him 10th overall. So.
Okay, next on the list would be Mr. Colin Neville. We talked about him before. I think we all kind of know him as well.
Neville.
He's played defense the last year, but I see him more as a forward personally.
I agree.
He can play, like I said, I think he's got actually a better motor than people give him credit for. He does a lot of running. He does a lot of biking. But where I see him, his perfect spot is more of that winger. He could be in a pinch, a center. I don't like him there. I don't think his positioning is strong enough, but he's a good, decent skater. Speed's okay. Not the greatest stick handler in the world, but he's just a solid athlete who's bender skill in hockey,
which you're not going to get a lot of in those late rounds. There's only a handful of guys in the late rounds that are actual, I feel are in shape 100%. Do biathlons like Dougie or someone, or they're doing crazy things and they're in shape. So I'm in agreement with you. He's a winger. He's not a defenseman to me. I don't think he's hockey smart to play center, but as a winger, you can get up and down the ice pretty quick. You can at least stick handle the puck if it's passed to you and not fumble to the other team. Neville's pretty solid.
Yeah, we've said that Bob Gibbs is the nicest guy in the league, but Neville might give him a run. I mean, he's just a great guy. Mm-hmm. So coachable. I mean, anyone who knows me, it's like I like to win. I like to talk hockey. Like I like to discuss what happened on this play. Like what can we do? And he's extremely coachable. Like he's taken, he tried to become a defenseman, and he'd take any instruction that you give. And I like guys like that. So I agree. I think he's better as a forward, but we've talked about it. If you get him, he's going to go in the 9th round. He's not going to go in the 10th round. He's going to go in the either early 9th, late 8th, something like that. And if you can put him on defense, that's nice.
Yeah, he's another one of those guys where if you have to fill that defensive spot, you can put him there, but you probably want him as a wing.
And he's another guy too. He has some similarities with Piercy. Like when he's playing defense and if he's at the point, like he's certainly not calling for the puck because I think he lacks confidence to like make a play. But he's a very serviceable second line bender. I kind of like what Piercy said. Like if you say, okay, Neville, your job is to just go up and down the ice and focus on, defense. He will be like, yes, sir, and do his job. So he could be a North Star.
Ooh.
Spicy.
Fans at home, get ready for it. The green and yellow is going to come for him.
Next on our list would be the Mountain, Corey Zahner.
Do you want me to take it away? So Corey Zahner is, to me, like Leroy on steroids. Like, for the fans at home that like watch know what Pokemon is, he's like the evolution. He's like that final, just like I feel like he's bigger than Leroy. He's got a bigger reach. Every time he gets the puck, he makes a smart play. He's not fast, obviously, but he's a pretty good shutdown defenseman. If you're looking for the second defenseman on your team, I feel like you are not going to be disappointed if you draft Leroy.
Yeah, I mean, has he been in the league 2 years and he's been a Duck
2 years.
both years?
Correct.
I think that, yeah. So it's tough to get a read because he's been a Duck both years. And he's not a guy that subs a lot. It's like if you're like, oh, I need Zahner to sub, I can't remember him ever really subbing. So haven't had a chance to play with him. But he's a huge man, tough to get around. He's a competitive guy too. He's kind of like quietly competitive. Yeah, huge guy. So I've looked on the mock drafts. It's like I think there's a pretty decent chance that he'll be a Duck in the 4th round and he's been good for them. The Ducks' flaws are really because I've talked about that dynamic is that they get stuck with 3 benders. But what the Ducks did well is not let people score. Part of that is J-Flow, but part of that is because Zahner has anchored that defense for the past 2 years.
Which is fantastic, especially because, I have him projected as a second overall defenseman. So your number 2 defenseman on the team. And if he can hold that down as an anchor, as like a first pairing defense like you're talking about with the Ducks last year, you're getting really good value out of him.
Yeah, in a perfect world, I do think you want him as your number 2 guy. I think in the wrong situation, he could be your number 1 guy if you went heavy in those mid-late rounds. But, he's a big dude.
He's got a nice shot from the point.
He's got a good shot.
Good shot.
He's played some hockey growing up, so he's got that hockey sense of kind of where to move the puck, know where to go with it.
He could be a 1A, 1B if you get someone else that's also competent. So like him and Bronny together,
Yeah, and he can skate. He's not, because he did play growing up. He's not a bad skater. Like I look for a defenseman. I'm like, can you pump your feet and do backwards crossovers? And he can. So to me, that's kind of separates guys that can
fans
actually play
at home,
hockey and can't.
I can do home say his stick is significantly larger than the max size allowed by NHL rules with specific waiver. I don't know if that's true, Commissioner. If you guys talked about in the Ivory Tower, if his stick is actually legal limit for Monday Night Lights.
Hey, I can do backwards crossovers one way. Still working on that other way confidently.
There's a difference between being able to do in warm-ups. I can do them in warm-ups and actually like in a game, like someone's coming down on you and you do a quick like boom, boom, boom to get your feet going, like, and not having a fear that you're going to wipe out. So you can say all you want. I don't think I've ever seen Brian Piercy execute like a proper double backwards crossover in a game situation. And I'm not talking about like a little slow, like kind of transition. I'm talking about like there's a forward bearing down on you and you kind of go and if you've done it, point out the film and I'll give you $10 and say I'm a liar, but I just haven't seen it.
Fair. But I believe I have, but like I said, it's only the one way. The whole confidence level of why I'm a bender of only being able to do stuff going one way, not the other. But
there's nothing to do with his honor and his not NHL legalized stick and his mountain nickname.
Exactly.
Was that sent to you via text message or was that?
That was in the
chat?
Slack. That was in the chat.
Is anybody still listening to us?
Oh yeah, we have double digits still. Next on the list, since this is a pretty small letter group, one of the guys you were talking about as a target, Mr. Rattler.
The Rattler,
Snack.
Solid North Star. I'm trying to think. He was a SEAL the first year.
Starline.
Won the keg there. Has he been a North Star the next 2 years? Have I had him 2 years?
I think so. I mean, he's a solid guy. I think there was a lot of people who thought that first year he was kind of the third guy on that star line. Year number 2, I think or especially I think it was the first spring, he surprised a lot of people with how well he was carrying stuff by himself.
Yeah, and then he won. Yeah, because I think he won the spring keg with the Icebergs. So I love Rattler. I love his game. He tries really hard. He's a grind. Like, he's a guy, you're obviously not going to get you got the Proctor, the Shawnees, and the Serta. So he's not in that level. But if you don't have those guys, especially with the North Star strategy in the past where I traded away that first-round pick, it's like I need to get guys in the second round that can compete with those guys. And so Rattler was my guy to fill that void. And he did that. Now, does he score as much as those guys? No. But he can. And is he a pretty skater? Not at that level. But he has the motor to compete with those guys. And he's quietly very competitive. He'll chime in on Slack here and there, but he's
a lurker.
Yeah,
he's a lurker.
He's a lurker, and he likes to win. He doesn't have great offensive skill, but he gets it done. So I think he'll go. Again, I have him kind of going in the late second, early third. Depends. I don't know if he'll be there for me. If he's there in the third round with the 8, I'm not taking him at 11. I think that's too high. That's my second round pick. But I've been doing my mock drafts, and I think there's a chance that he might be there, and it would be really hard to pass him up. You know what you're going to get with him.
I don't see him escaping the second round, honestly. He's too good of a player to draft in the third round.
It's really hard in that area. There's a lot of guys that I think, depending on who you are, we're going to have. I think there's some guys that are probably all over the place in that area on GM's boards. So he could go anywhere from mid-second round to late third round.
Yeah,
maybe mid-third round.
And here's the thing that
lower.
Hedis doesn't know, he hasn't looked at it as closely as I have being a GM. The Americans don't have a second-round pick, okay, because Antioch's pick is locked in there, and then I have them getting Peso, Then the Ducks don't have a third-round pick because Turtle's there. So there's really only a couple picks, and then boom, he's to me at number 18. So I don't know if there's definitely some interesting picks where I don't know exactly who I'm going to take at 11, and then you got the Ducks with their second-round pick and the Tigers with their second-round pick. And I don't know, do you want to take that defenseman? So maybe John Starr goes, maybe a Judge goes.
Well, I mean, you pair Rattler with Matt Taylor if you're the Tigers. If Proctor goes 1 overall, I mean, come on, you get.
Or
would
you take Rattler or Peso?
I mean, if Peso's, I don't know. Peso stops high.
I'm talking about the Tigers. The Tigers are going to have that. I have Antioch. I have Peso going to the Americans with the first pick of the third round. But he might not be there.
I don't think he'll be there.
Does Sugar like playing with Peso? I'm not sure. Because the Ducks could take Peso. The Tigers could take Peso. So, but to my point, if you have. If you're sitting there in the Tigers and you're telling me you take Peso over Rattler, okay, now the Tigers take Peso. Now you come to the Americans. They already have Proctor or Matt Taylor, doesn't matter. They already have Antioch, right? So they have their 2 snipers. So maybe they take a defenseman, John Starr. Then Rattler falls to me, is my point. So I've studied this closely.
Correct, but I mean, also what happens if Ben's missing and for the pick that the Seals want to pick him up at 10 or 8, vice versa with Chris Taylor. Right, because Chris Taylor's missing. Whoops, high on Rattler. He always loves choosing Rattler. He'll probably choose Rattler.
There's no chance that with the way the trade is constructed, Whoops gets to pick his guys because the Sealers are. This is where Hedis, we love Hedis, but he doesn't quite put in the prep to look at the mock draft because he didn't understand the trade. So the Deeks retain the 7th overall pick. They're taking Andy Fem.
Correct.
Then the Seals have the 8th pick, so they're going to take whoever they want. The next pick is the Whalers. They're locked in with Trent, and then it's the Seals. So there's no scenario where Ben won't be there for the Seals. It's like if they want Ben, they're taking Ben. There's no chance that he won't be there. Now, will they take Rattler over Ben? Maybe they will, but they whooping it up because he's made the trade where he can draft whatever 3 he wants. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'll leave Ben in that discussion for later on in the future. So let's stay focused here. It's a little bit tough, but next on the list would be, I think, one of the hardest players in my mind to judge, Mr. Darren Cunningham. He's my cousin. Grew up with him. He's played hockey his whole life. He's obviously a good skater. He's fast. He's gotten in better shape as well. He's got a wedding coming up, so he's tip to the GMs. He's in better shape and hitting the gym 4 or 5 times a week. But the problem is he doesn't score.
So when that trade went down and Whoop went, whooping up about Taylor, Ben, Shawnee, I was like, that means I didn't think Cunningham was going to slip to me. If without that trade, I kind of had the Nordiques taking Andy Fem and then probably Cunningham, and then the Seals taking Chris Taylor, and then I'm sitting there with.
You keep acting like this Andy Fem Pete thing is 100% deal.
It is 100%. I mean, it is.
He slightly smirks a little bit as he says it.
Barring a trade, it's 100%.
Unless Whoop's just giving out bad feelers. But in my mind, my mock draft, I have Peso going 10 to the Seals of what they should do, and I have Cunningham going 11 to the North Stars.
Yeah, well, I don't think Whoop's not a guy that's going to put out a smoke screen. He's not doing this. Woo! There's no reason to. He controls the picks. He can pick whoever he wants. So it's not like I'm going to pretend that I'm going to take Ben so that someone else doesn't take. He has the picks. So I'm taking Whoop as a man of his word, and then I'm looking at Cunningham, falling in my lap. And it's weird because he's a good skater, but again, he doesn't produce.
I actually think that Cunningham is a younger Ben.
Yeah. No, not even close.
No.
There's nothing could be more wrong about that because Ben has great hockey IQ, great passer, makes everyone around him better, and Darren is just kind of like
he's aggressive. He'll go out and dig the puck out from the corners. Ben won't do that all the time, but he will, and he can also
I think that's where the youth comes in.
If you're looking at positional wise, I know everyone's high on Darren playing forward, but for my position, I've seen him play defense before. That's mainly where I've seen him play.
When? In MNL or somewhere else?
Yeah, MNL, yeah.
Because I watched him play defense for the Nordiques, and I thought it was a train wreck. But one thing I want to comment on, because maybe Piercy has some inside knowledge, but Whoop said that bang the title, that's not good for the mic. Whoop said that Darren, too, Whoop, he can get anybody fired up. One of Whoop's strengths as a GM is getting the best out of his players and getting them all fired up. And he said that Darren just kind of didn't give a shit, So that's kind of a drawback. I don't know if that's true or not, but he said that Darren be like, oh, the Lions are playing on Monday Night Football, so I'm not coming. He
seems really mellow. Yeah, he was super mellow.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, except for me, it's I'm not. There's no Lion unless it's the Super Bowl, which wouldn't be on a Monday. But it's I'm not gonna skip Monday Night Lights to watch the Lions. I'm not gonna Monday Night Lights is my kind of number one priority.
It is a priority,
and I want guys that are like-minded. So that's kind of a drawback. I did have a little direct Slack chat with him. Asked him what hand he was. Told him I might be, putting together a little bake sale for a composite stick.
Bake sale.
And he said that all donations were welcome. So that I do think. I mean, I'm joking, but I'm not. It's like going to play golf with a club from the 1970s. It's like playing baseball. If you have an aluminum bat or a wood bat, it's technology is technology. So I do think that he has a pretty nice shot with a wood stick. So I just think with a composite stick, I think he'd just be fucking sniping. So
well, a couple things here is one is I know the reason he told me he started using wood sticks was because he'd break too many when he was playing in high school. So it just came down to he'd break a couple of weak composite
all
ones.
All black hockey sticks are $80, $90, right? And they're one piece too easy to buy.
If he's a North Star, he's gonna have a composite stick.
But number two is he enjoys Monday Night Lights a lot.
Good.
He enjoys it. He likes it. But I was the same way when I was his age. Lions were my number one thing. I missed a couple K-Felks games back in the day because of Monday Night Football. I totally get it. Also another thing is he's newly engaged. His fiance was living up in the Flint area, so there was a lot of other stuff going on. Now they're getting married, living together now. So
where are they living?
He lives in Madison Heights as of
okay.
now.
Good.
So they're down in this area. So I think when they live together longer and all that kind of stuff, it makes it easier. You see each other every day. You don't have those situations where it is easier to, I am going to go to all these games. I can do more drop-ins. I mean, I was shocked, honestly, when he did the All-Star game this year, but he participated in that even. Not everybody did. So it's not like he's fully exiled, but, a lot of times he's got the job, texting, all this other stuff.
Maybe Whoop was too much for him. I mean, that's a possibility, too. Not that it would be much easier with me as your GM, so who knows. But he could very well be a North Star. He's definitely – I'm considering about 3 players, and he's one of them.
So moving on, another fan favorite.
Is Darren a podcast listener?
I I think the only times he really follows Slack is if it's like a tag in whatever his team channel is or a direct message. So he probably doesn't even realize the podcast exists.
Well, you should. Well,
big eye roll there. That's another minus on the plus minus board. Come on now.
And he's your cousin, so maybe first order of business when the show's over is that you can send him the link to send him the Apple Podcast. It's Twitch is kind of like a production. It's like, oh, I got to set up an account or blah, blah, blah. But if you send someone the Apple Podcast, they can just click it, boom, listen.
Cut in the grass, listen to my name being called out.
Tell them to turn on the podcast at the 1 hour, 20-minute mark. And it's all about, people like hearing about themselves.
So,
Speaking of which, I do have a wife and children. So I do think maybe one, maybe two more. And I didn't say we got to wrap it up, but
we got a couple more D's, so we can go through these pretty quick. Let's finish it off. So Sips, our next guy. I'll start out. He's a weird fucking player. Let's face facts. He weebles, he wobbles, he scores goals where you don't know how sometimes he gets through that crowd and goes there. Same time, I would say his defense is a little weird, a little lacking, especially for him wanting to play center or kind of being that center guy, because if you throw him at a wing, he's responsibilities, he just goes where he wants. So you almost have to throw him at center. And he's an injury concern. He has a boo-boo here or there, and he's sitting out for a game. He has a lot of, I have a early meeting, I can't make it type of guy. So there's the pros and the cons. Real good guy, though. When
you started out with, I'm going to lay it out there, he's just a weird player, I thought you were going to say, I'm going to throw it out there, he's a weird fucking guy.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were going to say.
But I love him. He is a weird fucking guy, but I like him. He's your prototypical grind line center. I've actually never seen him play wing. I don't know if he could play wing. But I like Sips. I love that he's a fucking weird. He'll come in and he'll post just some cryptic, weird shit on Slack, but it's funny. I get it. I love Sips. So I definitely think he's in that kind of. I think he got drafted too high. I think now everyone kind of knows where he's at. So I see him probably being like a 7th, maybe even an 8th. But if you got him in the 8th, I think that's great. But I do think that is a legit concern with the injuries and the not showing up. And it's a physical injury, it's a mental injury. He's got mono. It's there's always fucking something. So if I knew that if I was going to draft Sip and he's going to show up 90% of the time, I'd feel pretty good about it. And it's one of those things too where in the regular season, if he doesn't show up, it doesn't always hurt you because you can kind of sub up and sometimes it could be an advantage. But in the playoffs, you need your guys to show up.
He's the resident History Channel alien meme where the guy's just kind of things are happening, conspiracies. So that's always when he posts things on Slack. It's always thinking in my mind. But I'll second what you're saying, Troy. Yeah, he's a prototypical grind line center over the couple seasons. Though I feel like his skill level, as the skill level of the league's gone up, has kind of gone down just because there's better players in the league. So it's tougher for him to fill his role in the second line.
I agree with that.
Maybe you talking to him playing wing, Piercy, maybe that's an option for some GM that drafts him. But, injury concerns are real, and Slack conspiracy theories are also real.
Yeah, I've seen him try to play wing, I think, once or twice, and it's not a pretty sight. Like I said, he's one of those guys on defense that kind of just roams wherever he wants.
Yeah, it could be an interesting... I think he's actually... the few times that I've played with him and he's on center, he's almost too conservative in the defensive zone. It's dude, you got to fucking go. You can be a center. But anyway, kind of to your point, maybe if you draft him a Kraken... and you have a team constructed of Sips as your grind line center, Neville as your grind line right wing, and then their job is to just play defense, and then you got McCracken cherry picking. Maybe that would be just some magical brew of bullshit.
Yeah, it might work.
It might work. So who knows?
And Sips, I love you. I know you were playing in the playoffs with broken bones and all, but I still love you. Moving on, though, as we have couple more people to finish off. We'll go through these quick. I know one of your favorites, potential North Star, Dave P.
Yeah, I'd love to get Dave P. He's another tricky guy. I'm not going to take him in the 3rd round. So at 18, I'm not taking Dave P. Because I just don't think he warrants a spot. And then I'd love to have him on my team, but I don't know if he'll be there in the 4th. Probably not.
He's a 0.75 point per game producer. 8 goals and what was I think it was 12 assists. 11 assists when I looked it up with him.
Let me finish here. I will say that the chances of Dave P being a North Star increased with that trade because the Nordiques have said many times, I'm not fucking drafting Dave P. They drafted him the first 2 years, put him in the gutter. They didn't draft him last year. They want a keg. So I'd be surprised if Panny drafted him. So that would be somewhere that he could go to the Nordiques. But unless they go off the board, I don't see him taking Dave P. And then the Whalers are sitting there like, do I take McCracken or Dave P? That's just a crazy dynamic because talk about two different players, there couldn't be more opposite. But again, Dave P at the drop in tonight scores a couple goals on Cone, so I don't know. Is this production real? I don't know.
The positives of Dave P are his game has been improved recently with his new goal scoring touch, aka thanks to Pistol, as he said before, to shoot the puck more. So he's shooting the puck more. But I do agree the Dave P curse exists. That's a thing. That's a real thing. If Dave P's on your team and in the fall, you have your chances go down 50% whether you're gonna win the keg or not. It's a curse. So whoever's team he's on, you have to break that curse. You got to get a bunch of good luck charms, a rabbit foot, put it in his bag or something. I don't know.
The other thing I love about Dave P is he loves Monday Night Lights. He loves talking the trades. It's like you get another GM in the process. He's all in. If it's the good thing about Dave P, it's 2 p.m. Maybe I'll call Dave P. He ain't fucking working, So it's like if he's not playing video games and not taking a nap, he'll answer the phone and you can bullshit about Monday
It's
Night
also
Lights.
very interesting. The funniest was with the Nordiques 2 years ago when it was him and I think Peso. They're losing and they're losing and they're losing. And, you'd go to the bar afterwards and you'd be talking. He's like, you just don't fucking get it, Piercy. We're putting up points left and right. And I'm just like, but you're putting up 0 points in the standings. Yeah. He's like, we're fucking running this league.
We did some cool shit, man. It was fucking awesome. We're fucking 0-20. It was fucking sweet.
And another interesting thing is, I think I've said it before, is I actually think he's one of the better defensive centers in the league. I know people don't fully agree with that, but I think positionally wise, he actually plays pretty decent in those situations when there's a lot of other guys who don't.
I'm interrupting you. Our resident conspiracy theorist brought up a hot take. What's worse, Dave P curse or Bin curse?
Dave Sips put that up?
Yeah.
Sips is listening. There you go, Sippy.
Anyways, like I was saying.
The bin I don't think is a curse. I think the Dave P curse might be real. Ben has just been drafted too high. It's not a curse. It's like he's just been drafted in the first round, and it's just Ben is not young enough or good enough to put a team on his back, So that's the Ben curse. It's not his fault. He's just been drafted too high.
But back to Dave P, like I was saying, I feel like he is that solid defensive center. I feel like he's got a motor. He hustles. He gets back, and he back checks, which is great for your line. Mm-hmm. He has been putting up more points lately. Is that a fluke? I don't know. I mean, his kid's playing hockey. He's been going to practices. Maybe he's learning some things. One thing I did notice today that I think is interesting, because he's always like, well, my points are good because I'm getting assists here and here and here. I've noticed that he's actually stopped passing in a lot of situations that he would in the past, which, I think in a lot of ways that's a good thing, because there are a lot of times you would see him make some stupid little drop pass that would go nowhere and a defenseman would grab it. Put the damn puck on the net. Sometimes good things happen.
The one thing back to my goalie days, it was very predictable. Like when Dave P comes in on a 2-on-1, it's like, I know the fucker's passing. And it's way different skill level, but I'm really fucking I just don't want to be considered a selfish player. So I get the puck and I'm constantly looking to pass. That's just that's what I'm looking to do. And that's what Dave P would do. So if I'm a goalie and it's a 2-on-1, it's like I'm cheating because I know that he's going to pass.
100% cheating.
So now it's like, I agree. Like it would be, if he's just a little bit more selfish, then you got to respect the shot. And I do think that that's kind of, he can kind of trick some of the goalies because they're just cheating for the pass and then he can, score. And the other thing is I think today on Cone, he came in you don't have to have the hardest shot if it's placed, if it's placed accurately. And so maybe Dave P he's onto something. I don't know. We'll find out. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, he's a complete package player, so it'll be interesting to see where he goes this fall, whether it's higher than it's supposed to, lower than it's supposed to, whether the curse is real. We'll find out.
Yeah, I don't have my rankings up, but just off the top of my head, he's got to be that late third early fourth type guy. Actually, looking at him, I have him going to the Whalers at 23, second pick in the fourth round.
Yep, exactly.
So
It's
I
him
think,
or McCracken right there for the Whalers. And to be candid, I'm kind of taking whoever they don't. I'll have McCracken. The way I look at it, I'll probably have McCracken or Dave P on my team.
yeah, I actually have McCracken going to, I think, the Nordiques, but I did actually say I doubt they'll do that. But based on placement and what position they needed, I put him there. But, there's a lot of skating defense. I don't think that's a Drager type player.
Yeah, we'll find out. Maybe.
So,
The Nordiques have a shit ton of picks in that. But from that little trade, they have like 4 picks in that little area. So maybe they take McCracken,
possibly. So, looks like we're over the hour and a half mark. I think player-wise, we're going to wrap it up from there. Just a few quick things. Make sure you give us those subscriptions to Twitch. Give us a call, 714-75-WHOOP. Email the show at, podcast@mnlhl.com. And give the YouTube channel a try. It's youtube.mnlhl.com. Remember, we'll be putting out those Sam Mackey exclusives coming up of what did not make the air. So
yeah, you're wanting to hear that action.
So we still have a lot of players left. I don't know if we're going to get through before the draft. I think we have one more skate coming up before the draft. We're going to need to get those new guys out there for evaluations. Draft will be streaming live, I believe, on Twitch as well. Cast of Characters hosting.
I did mention to my wife this, do you want to be Aaron Andrews? And she didn't completely shut it down. She's like, I don't know anything about that. I'm like, you just got to show up and say, how does it feel to be drafted by this such and such, And the one thing, married, 4 kids, if I get a babysitter, it's a night out, so there's a chance that Mrs. Otto could be Aaron Andrews at the draft.
There's going to be a lot of suits at the draft, that's for sure. A lot of suits.
A lot of suits. So, yeah, we'll do our best. I mean, I assume we're going to try for next week as well. Who knows about a weekend? I don't know if we're going to get a mock draft in, but we'll do our best. But for the podcast, I think we are out.